All right, testing. So hope all is well. Everyone is in. We're actually live right now on YouTube, and we're gonna wait for a few more people to come in. We're gonna get started and go right into our main presentation for today. I did post it out on the announcement board. All right, testing. Just bear with me as I pull up the YouTube. There we go. Make sure of hold on a second. I don't know if anyone's talking. Can't hear anything yet. Okay. So I think we're good. The mic is good. Everyone is good to go on the voice and auto. I think it's great on YouTube. Everyone can hear me on YouTube. And you all can hear me in the Zoom if you're here in the private moment of Zoom right now too. So I'll continue from last week. I'm going to go into the key segments of this week. From last week, we went over get connected with your the 1041 works if you're using the trust EIN for the filing. So we went over that last week. And we're going to get into more details of how that looks this week as well. Just wanted to make sure that we had all access to the trust EIN. So most people may not have the trust EIN. If you have that, that'll help out a lot more to navigate with a lot of this information we go over each week on this call. So I'm just going to wait out a couple of more minutes, give everybody time before I go right into it, get right back in and send this link out. Looks like everyone has that link now, so we're good to go on that link. And we are going to go to our first part, which is going to be the revocable trust. Let's go right into it. Let's see if I can pull that up. All right, so what I'm going to do is this is more of a review. So the first things first is we wanted to go into the last week's information was how everyone could get to the point where they can get the 1041 to work for them by having all of your bills, all of your expenses, all of your debts. You shouldn't have debts anymore once you have a trust anyways, but you should have all your bills and expenses in a trust EIN so that you're not using commingling your social. So what happens is once you use your social, it's as if you're starting all over again and somebody else has access, or they call it fiduciary power. So we went over that last week, and I like to go on live time to a lot of illustrations. So I'll just review that one real quick just to kind of get our brains working. So a lot of people always talk about the fiduciary and Form 56, but I always tell people that there's no way you're able to fully do that if you don't have a trust or you're not filing a 1041. What I mean by having a trust, I mean actually filing a 1041. This means that this form goes with your 1041 to prove your fiduciary. So last week, I didn't actually go into this form itself, but I did go into the instructions of what a fiduciary is. So let me go back to the instructions real quick. See if they allow me to do the PDF. Here we go, PDF print version. And we saw that most people may mix it up with the 2848 because I was asking for 2848. And they tell you about the 2848 as well. But for specific reasons, we were going to go over the fiduciary. Here we go. So definitions of fiduciary. It says a fiduciary is any person in a position of confidence acting on behalf of any other person. That means that if somebody's acting on behalf of any other person, they're in confidence of acting on behalf of that person according to the IRS Treasury definition. So they keep it plain and simple. A fiduciary assumes the power. So there goes that assumes word. So that's why we tell people to go through the assumed name. And we specifically use the assumed name in Minnesota specifically because we want you to be the fiduciary even over your name. So this is very important, this fiduciary word. It's going to help people overcome this bypassing mindset of needing the treasury or needing someone such as Stephen Mnuchin or Janet Yellen or the Secretary of Treasury, and you send all this stuff over to them. Because if they are fiduciary, that means that you don't have full fiduciary power. Because that's the United States agent or United States representative is a fiduciary. So anybody in the United States and of the United States can do this, can assume your stuff, unless you actually assume your own name or your own trust. That's what they pretty much assume. So with that being said, we went to all the different powers and how that goes right into the power of attorney. So first you got your assumed name, then now you have your powers. So the powers right here, and it's loaded because this is just the definitions off of the instructions. And the powers, as we know, is your powers of attorney. So you have to have power of attorney even to be a fiduciary, because your powers of attorney is a lower layer before you actually can formulate a Form 56, which is fiduciary. So of course, people are not going to teach this or show this because it's a doing. You have to actually have the information in front of you. You actually have to do it and turn it in and see what happens, right? So that's power of attorney. You have the rights. That's rights to property, rights to real estate, duties. So that means if you're getting paid, they call it fiduciary fees, or duties to keep the name up or yourself up, right? Duties. Privileges, those are your benefits. That's where all the funds come from. So if I'm getting paid, these will be privileges. I will have a privilege as a payment. So a lot of people are looking for something other than the words that they want to use, which is in the trust realm, you have to use the correct words that they want you to have in the trust realm. Otherwise, it goes into the corporate realm. And the corporate realm is what most people are already in, and the goal is to get out of the corporate realm. So the privileges of the person or entity on whose behalf he or she is acting. So that means if you're over the phone and you give them the last 4 digits of your social, you've given them the privilege, you've given them the duties, you've given them the rights, the powers. So therefore, they are fiduciary. At that moment in time, once we've given them that knowledge, we have given them fiduciary. So some of the examples are here. Examples of fiduciaries include administrators. Look at that. First things first, administrators, conservators, designees, somebody who's designee, a designee over your estate. Executors over the estate, which is the courts. So we're going to the executors are always in the courthouse, almost all the time, executors. And that's where you get most of your documents from the court anyway. The court, if the estate went through probate. So that means the executors. The guardians. Everybody knows what guardians are for the children under 18. They have a whole program called Guardian Ad Litem. Guardian Ad Litem. And it may be different in your state, it may be different in other states, but most people don't care too much because they're like, well, I don't have any children. I don't have to worry about that. But at the end of the day, it's still, hey, you had funds from your estate when you were a child, you probably never accessed. So that guardian thing is very important because they were able to guard that funding from 0 to 18 of a child, of an heir, of a relative, even a niece or a nephew. So a lot of us have avoided this child thing, but all it does is go right back to that point before we turn 18 is what they were actually continuing to do anyway for us. But in reality, they're actually a guardian if one is never actually claimed their estate. So it's technically the state or the different people are still guardians. You have receivers, people who just receive funds, receivers, trustees of a trust, trustees of a trust. That's right. So everyone says sometimes you can't reveal, you got the trustees of a trust. So that's the fiduciary. Trustees in bankruptcy. So if your house or your land goes into bankruptcy court, there's new documentations that they write and they place it into the court, into the bankruptcy court. And you're supposed to simply remove them as trustees if you are able to understand how to do that. But how can you remove them as trustees if you don't have fiduciary power, or I don't have it, or we don't have it? So a fiduciary is very important to master or to actually understand the definition first, because they're saying that all these people are playing fiduciary that I'm reading right now. Trustees in bankruptcy court, they get to play fiduciary for you. Another fiduciary, look at this one, personal representative. That's right. The basic one, personal. So I always tell people you can try your best to stay personal and hide is going to be found. They're going to find your personal stuff because there's personal representatives that are going to turn that information over to the government or to the IRS or to the bank or whoever, right? That's why I'm saying the way I say it is I'm using the words specifically. I say sole proprietor. I say sole proprietor. I don't say trust. I have a trust account. That's not enough. You got to know what type of trust account someone has. Like the trust account is not always a bank. That's just one layer to it. It's just a trust account. So your next layer to that will make it a business account, which is supposed to be on the side of a trust. So personal representatives are taking over your funding, even if it becomes a trust. So I just want to point this out. It's very important that we see that even if there's a trust in place, even if it's foreign, even if it's a high level trust, the minute that becomes an account or an authority of a personal representative, it becomes personal again. Next, you have persons in possession of property of a decedent's estate. So that's a fiduciary. That's a person usually given that paper from the court after probate. Like, hey, you are now appointed fiduciary or appointed heir or appointed a person in possession of property of a decedent's estate. Or debtors in possession of assets in any bankruptcy proceeding by order of the court. That's right. So that's how you see these people coming in from the banks. These new people, they say that they own the house. They are in charge of the house now. So while them claiming they're in charge of the house, this is what they call foreclosure. Foreclosure. So debtors in possession of assets in any bankruptcy proceeding by order of the court. And so they're able to get this writ of possession. They're able to say that they're the new owner of the property or they're owed money so that they can receive their funding as fiduciary. Because that's what they see it as. They see it as, hey, you agreed to pay us every month, even though your mortgage is already paid. We understand that, but you signed this closing agreement, and this closing agreement said that you were going to pay us even though we've done all this work on the back end for you. That's what those mortgage agreements say. Like they clearly tell us that, hey, this is just a promissory note in the sum of $10 or whatever amount they say. And it goes on the county record. But they say, hey, you must pay us $120,000 in cash, which is once again promissory notes, which is a Federal Reserve note. And our goal is to make sure we file the taxes as fiduciary. Because if you become fiduciary, then just as powerful or even more powerful than this person who is playing that fiduciary role. So I just wanted to pick our brain just to get us enlightened on this part right here. This is very important to see as a segue into how and why all these bills have to be out of our name and into the name of a trust. We also had a point where somebody brought up the authorized representative was treated by the IRS as the agent of the taxpayer. That's correct. So an authorized representative is a person who's personally representing you, personal representatives, right? They're authorized to file taxes behind your back at the IRS because they're your agent. So that includes the bank. That's why you never receive that 1099-B from the bank. This is including your credit card company. This is why you never receive that 1099-B or the 1099-INT or any of those other 1099s from the credit card company. This is why even with insurance, right? Let's go there. This is why they never, ever going to send you those 1099s because they're going to file as a representative on your behalf as a taxpayer because it's on the personal side. But this is how they win. They're winning because they are authorized to do so. This is everyone's problem every week that we speak about anything in and out. Is way more than just having a trust. It's way more than just having the EIN. It's way more than just having it, notarized. And I have the documents, right? Now, how are you going to make sure other people aren't authorized for you? Why are you not authorized for yourself? Why are we not authorized to manage our own affairs before someone else does? So that's what this entire presentations and all these different thoughts are about, because we're just reading what the IRS says in their instructions. This is the instructions, and this is for Form 56. So this is how you pick the brain of the highest or the mightiest, right? Even if it's the bank, you can take this information to a bank and say, hey, well, look, according to Form 56, here's the instructions, yada, yada, yada. Of course, don't talk to a front desk clerk, the person who just started working there 3 weeks ago. They're not going to know the answer. So a lot of us are bamboozled by talking to the wrong people. You got to make sure you're talking to the correct people, even when you're doing business. So that's this part right here with the fiduciary. I'm going to go back and show where I got that information. So I went right to the irs.gov. The irs.gov is going to get you straight to this part where you can type in 56, and then you can click on that link for instructions in your print version. Next, I also went into the EIN. So we talk about the EIN and how the EIN is utilized only Monday through Friday. So you won't be able to get this EIN like everyone tries to do on the weekend. So we always say, even us, even university technicians, the way we operate, we make it where we're able to connect with you Monday through Friday. Because if it's on Monday through Friday, has a connection with you as university technicians, representatives or university technicians, specialists, whoever, right? We're going to operate according to the hours of operations the government is operating. So the government says they're open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Friday. So the way we see the government is the IRS is the one that sets the rules. So you want to grab this EIN during normal business hours. They also tell you how to use it. You're going to use your EIN. Oh, sorry, not you. You're going to use your SSN. And this SSN is going to give you access to this EIN. So you need the SSN card. So for those who've been teaching you to stop using your social, to get rid of your social, to rescind your social, to do all these different things that are going to take you out the game, or just to stop playing the game per se. They'll tell you just stop playing the game, just move away from the United States and just say happy ever after. Well, guess what? You're going to lose all of your treasures that's been added up for you for a long time. So they're telling you you're the responsible party. And by being the responsible party, you're the one responsible for doing this and applying for your EIN correctly. And they also see that responsible party as your social security card or social security name and number. So a responsible party is a person who ultimately owns or controls the entity. That's right. So that means you are the owner, you are the controller of the entity, right? You don't own and control that SSN because that card, you, I, or me, we didn't take it over. So since we didn't take it over at age 18, you now have to create a new name and a new trust, which is your trust that you created, right? I would say your mother was supposed to take it over at birth, but we know for a fact none of our moms took over our trust, our infant trust as a baby. So nobody here, everybody has failed. You know, we all have fell short. Doesn't matter how great someone makes themselves seem. We all fell short because our mothers did not create that trust when we were babies. Even if you want to go grab the birth certificate, get it authenticated, all this extra stuff they say, you still can't go back in time. It's impossible. So we're trying to overcome this confirmation bias that people may have, still possibly doing other processes, thinking that this process is going to go faster, or maybe I can access this trust account and get $1 million, or maybe I can do it this way, and maybe they'll bypass this with this bill of exchange, all this extra stuff, right? The reality is that you already have access as long as you become a responsible party. Like we always had access. We just haven't done it where we actually type our information in during the times that they told us to. You know, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 10. They say, hey, we're open only on these times. Don't try to do it on Saturday. Don't try to do it Friday after work. I mean, they're open after work until 10. So I'm bringing this out to show us that we've always had access to this every week where you can and other people can create this EIN. And the social security number is being taken out of the system, and you're now given a new number so that you don't use the social. So that's the whole point of this EIN document, is to not use your social. That's why they tell you this. The person applying online must have a valid taxpayer identification number. And they tell you it's the SSN, the ITIN, or EIN. You are limited to one EIN per responsible party per day. Right? So that means you can create one business a day if you knew what you were doing. But I'm not telling anybody to do that, because you still need to learn how to create at least one trust, operate from that one trust, and make sure that all your stuff is showing up in that one trust. So this is an online application. I want to show how fast it does take you. Only is 15 minutes, and it will not take no time if you do this in 15 minutes. Now, you know, it doesn't take 15 weeks, it takes 15 minutes. And yet, no, you cannot immediately file taxes when you get the EIN. They tell you on the EIN, they say, hey, wait about 3 weeks if you are going to try to file taxes with this EIN. Because realistically speaking, you can't even file taxes for the EIN at least until a season goes by. And if you did do it for if a season goes by, you've having to, we went over this last week because we got to make sure we slow it down, is you're eventually going to do this 1099-B. And you need to do the one that says 2024, because this is where all the instructions tell you right here. If you're going to do the trust, and it has to say 2024. See, we're waiting to the end of the year, and we're waiting to 2025, right? Let's say, for instance, a lot of us are going to wait to 2025, then we're going to use the software to file our taxes, you know, because it doesn't show up on the software. But if you had this form, the IRS is going to give you the red copy, right? Then you're going to get this copy, and you're going to give it to the other party, which is the recipient. So nothing is stopping us every day from doing this right here. You can fill this out today. You can file this on, if you have a court case, you can put it on your court case. If you have a biller, you can send it back with your bill. You know, if you're making a payment, you still make your payment, don't get me wrong, but you're going to get those funds back if you have it in a trust correctly. You get the credit back. So this isn't a low-level thing by just printing this out. So if you fill this out and send it to somebody, this is what the IRS is telling you to do. This is the instructions. They tell you to do this page, page 4 and page 5. So send that to the recipient. Whoever's receiving the money, whoever's receiving the funds. That's what that means, recipient. You know, so if you had to scroll and look into this clearly to see, make sure, what is Brother Wallace saying? Well, why do you mean funds? Well, according to this document, it says you may be required to recognize the gain from the receipt of what? Cash. So if you pay cash, you still have to, you know, think of possibly adding up all that cash you gave that one entity. So if I, for instance, if I had utilities, I know, for instance, if I had utilities, I would basically add up the whole year, and that will go all the way from, what is it so far? January 1st. It's 1/1/2024. And it's not sold or disposed yet. So let's say I'm in the middle. What's the month that we're in? June 9th. What is it? I will have to go for May. So let's say it's May 31st, 2024. So that would take me from January 1st to May 31st for the months that were closed, right? However much my utility bills were, that's how much I would put as proceeds. All right. That's important for us to understand how to fill these out. Your accountant doesn't have to do this form for you. You know, most of these accountants are not going to do 1099s. They're going to do the most basic one according to the way is normally done. So it's up to us to play fiduciary, because remember, we just read the instructions of fiduciary. Are you the fiduciary? The answer should be yes. Yes, you still have to play the fiduciary role. So for instance, I will put the name of the trust, not my name. And I'm making sure I say this, because if we keep trying to put our name there and saying, oh, the bill has to get paid off, why is it not paid off? You're not fully understanding how these people are playing personal representative over your account. And they're like, well, hey, you agreed for us to get that credit, not you, because you signed the agreement that we can grab that credit when you gave us your social. And that's what I keep telling people. And then you're in a controversy because now you're going to go try to take them to court, talking about an affidavit and the 18 criminal codes and all this stuff, how they're doing fraud. You're not getting anywhere because they have fiduciary. And that's our problem. We got to make sure you're using the name of your trust. So that is the trust EIN. Make sure I write that there. The trust EIN. That's the payer. That should be the payer. And the recipient could be the utility company. And that's the way we want to see this every time, because if you can't do it for the utility company, you're more likely not going to do it for any of the other bills. And that's why the B has to go through this way, because the bank, we're going to say the bank is also a person on there too. You can do this for your bank. And that's the big rabbit hole right now. Your bank. That you put all your cash and your money in, all your direct deposits, however way you do it. Why are you not filing the taxes for the bank account that you have even the trust in, right? We don't care if it's Charles Schwab. Let's write his name in. What about, we don't care if it's Charles Schwab. Why don't you not write in Charles Schwab's name right there? See how deep I'm going? And why are you not writing his name? He's a recipient, right? He's receiving. If we're going to use Charles Schwab accounts, those who are using those trust accounts, you're supposed to file your taxes on your bank as well, because it's a trust. So this is some of the dynamics we went into last week. We wanted to make sure that this looks appropriate so that we know it can be done in real time, right? It can be done today. You can fill out these forms at any time. This is why the IRS allows you to do this. Now, unfortunately, you have to order the red copy. And that will be something that'll take a little bit more effort. So you can go to order forms and type that in. Forms of publication by mail. Online ordering forms, order attachment. Let's see if it goes right here. One time. Here we go. So here, this is where they say, this is how you order your forms. Let's say I type in 1099 B. Okay, let's pop up here. What about 1096? Maybe another form. Okay, I'm in the wrong one. I'm in the wrong one. I'm on the side. All right, let's see if it pops up this way. 1099 B. There we go. So if I type that in, that'll pop up here as form 1099 B. Let's see if they allow me to see it this way. So they let me see it from the same format from this, but I want to get the red copy to download. So I'll go on that one a little bit later of how you can order your form to publications by the mail.
That's the PDF.
There we go. This is it right here. Yeah, it's the PDF, but you want to go ahead and order the ones online. So let me type this one. It's 1099.
Show me how you got to the order form, because
Here we go. So
I had
1099B right here. In 2024 is right there. There we go. So I mean, what I've done is it says it on IRS website, order information returns for employers. So that's what the word is. The keyword I forgot to put is employer. So that's another fact, is that we have to play the employer as well as the employee or trustee. Now here we go. This is how I would get to the 2024 1099Bs. Let's see if I need 10 of them. I'll order 10. All right, that's how easy it is, and it's free. So nobody can say, well, I needed money to do this. This is why we do these free studies this week, this every week this way, so that everyone can at least
Can you go
practice.
back out and come back right to that so I can see exactly where you picked that? Because I've gotten
Well,
to the
you
PDF.
just need to type this in, and you need to click on this, because even if I go back, I'm on the IRS website, so there's no way just because I go back, you would know what screen I'm starting on. So I always type in the search, order information returns and employer returns. So you want to search that through the search. You type that in to see if I type in the same thing. Pops right up, and you click on that link. And there you go. This is the screen right here. The IRS makes it easy as long as we're searching. Use this search bar. You type in what you need, it'll get right to it. They're making it very easy for us because everything is going digital now. Another thing that a lot of people were doing was the 1099As. And we're learning that you could have seen the 1099A online through your account, but we don't do the 1099As because we focus on the B and the B. And once you get your B, you want to go ahead and get the 1096 as well. That'll be the cover letter to that. So you got 1096 and you need the 1099B. Once you've gotten the B and you've gone to the master level, you'll go ahead and get the 1099 OID. The OID is the original issue discount. Most people are not ready for this because they have not mastered the B. So we found out in the instructions that if you haven't done the B, then you cannot do the OID. So we're back. We're basically debunking all the things I've been taught over the years about doing the 1099A, the 1099C, the 1099 OID, and all these different methods that they were teaching. But we found that you cannot do the OID unless the B has been filed first. And this is coming straight out of the instructions. So let me go to that so I don't misquote anything. Let's type in 1099. But some people may be scared of the OID because people have done it incorrectly. So let's go to this right here. 1099 OID instructions. I think it's publication. Oh, here it goes. That's IDT about issue account. Yeah, publication 1212. There we go. So this is straight from the IRS, publication 1212. They tell you how to use this form, and you have to follow their exact instructions. The guide to original issue discount instruments. All right, so where was I at? Looking for the okay, we got the INT right there. Where is the 1099 B? Here you go, form 1099 OID. See that? All right, so it looks very complicated, of course, 1099 OID. I wouldn't want you to think that it's totally different than the B. So all the information that you put on the B should go on the OID. So it's probably at the top. I probably skipped it really fast. But as you go through this information and you want to study this master level, the OID, most of all the information is going to be based upon original contracts. So let's say you had an original contract, you would want to have the OID, also the tax forms that are given to you for the original contracts. So all these agreements that we've ever signed, they all have a OID with it. Every single agreement that you sign, especially the mortgage, especially the mortgage. Now they are going to have the tax filings under a fiduciary name that you don't have access to. That's why you can't see it. And then they don't have to disclose it to you because we gave them fiduciary power. And that's why they have so much power. Just want to show you all like a lot of these back office things that they're doing. If I can find that information a little bit later, I'll find it for you. But I did find where you have to do the B first, and combination after you do the B, you would then move to the 1099 OID. Yes, feel free. Got your hand raised.
So my question is, can you fire them as fiduciary and appoint yourself as fiduciary?
Right, that's what I'm getting to. That's gonna be main meat of my presentation today of why the Bible, why they're using the Bible. So I just wanted to give y'all just a preface to all this information, where it's coming from. Like it's not coming, off the top of my head, or it's not coming from, you know, pretty much a guru. Like we're not gurus. We're just here to study the information. So a lot of this is where you have to become fiduciary, like I was saying earlier. I'll stop the screen for a second to show you all what we're talking about on the announcements. So in the announcements, we put pay off all debts through Bible quoted answers, activating living trust will. So the living trust will is what I'm going to get right into it. And this is the explanation why the courts and schools are using the Bible against you as a lawbreaker. So that's why they say when you go into court is swear on the Bible, to put your hand on the Bible. And what happens is that they're actually using the Bible to determine, to mark us off if we're actually doing anything, if we're making any type of error. Because in the Bible, a sin is said to be an error. If we are in error, that means we are in sin, according to the Bible. So they're using the Bible canon law in courts to overcome. We have to use the Bible canon law in courts to overcome all charges and debts in the name. So in order to not be in the name, we have to basically take as fiduciary over our name. That's the way it works. So if you're not fiduciary over your name, then they still technically have fiduciary power over you. Which we say you, we're talking about your corporation, your born name, and so on. I'm going to show how to do this today in two key segments. I'm going to start off first with the born name. So I wanted to pull that up as an illustration for you all for the born name. Before I go into the born name, does anybody have any thoughts of what your born name possibly is? And this is precluding the IRS. So this is before the IRS. If you're talking about your born name, anybody have any thoughts of what that would be?
It would be your first and middle as your main name.
You say first and middle?
That would be like, that would be your name.
Yeah. So your born name would be who gave you your name when you were born?
Your parents.
Right. So it'd be your mother gave you the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your father, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that would be your born name. Starting to add up. So
Your
what that
mo-
is, go ahead.
you're saying your mother's name and your father's name?
No, what I'm saying is your mother and your father gave you the born name, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So if they gave you your name, that's your born name, right? So they are your creators.
Mm-hmm. I was just saying like the last name would be like the family name. So your born name would be, um, all all one, you know, your first and middle, but it's really not a
Right.
middle. It's still the first name. So if your
Right.
name
Right.
is John Henry Doe, or that's the name of your corporate structure, your name is really John Henry.
Correct. So that's really where this is coming from. You are being born, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your born name. So you're being born. Um, your mother gives you the name, which is your first name and middle name, more than likely, right? Well, who gives you the last name?
Your family, your father gave you that
There you
name.
go, your father. So the father is the family name. The mother is the first and middle name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There's the mother and the father.
Hmm.
So we're committing ourselves to the world when we're not even of the world. We're already out of the world in the beginning. This is why I'm going to show you all how it matches the Bible. So they're using the Bible against you. They're just trying to see if we even know who we are. So let me show you all this right here. I don't know if you can see the screen. No, it's not that one. Let's go ahead and stop screen share right here. All right. So when you go into the beginning, right? Now, a lot of people don't know what this deciphers the way they see it. So let's go down to the part where it says, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So the R is basically what image? Is the R male, male? Is the R female, female? What is it?
I would assume it's male and female.
Right. I mean, we have to get to the point where we say the R image. So who's the image? That's to be the image of the male and the female, right? This is why they're using the Bible.
Yeah.
The Bible is used in court. They're using it. So like, okay, well, God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. So the man and the woman come together and then we're born, right? That's what this is. That's what this means. So this is fast forwarding into who we are. We're born. We're born in the image. So then we go to 27. So God created man in his own image. And that's the man or the woman or the daughter or the son, right? In the image of God created he, him. Then you say male and female. So there we go. It's the answer here. So that means that there's a male version or there's a female version that we're created. So this is prior to the government. I'm just showing you all how this looks and how they see this, the Bible. The Bible is where you're actually looking at this from the church perspective. The church sees this as a baptism. So I just give you all the straightforward answer. The straightforward answer is the name that you're born in is your baptism. That's what that is. That's your baptism. So where is our baptismal document? Where is our certification of being baptized? Because we came out of the mother's womb, we came out of the water, and we were already baptized prior to even coming here. So that part is where I'm going to show where you used to have the baptism in the Bible. That's what they used to call it, baptism. Where's it? Where's the document at? Let's go to the document. Do they have the baptismal record in the Bible still? Some Bibles still have it. They have to have it somewhere. Here we go. Here's an example. So you all should see this right here. Okay, here, let's use this one. This one looks good. It says straight up. So certificate of baptism. How about this one right here? All right, so here's a certificate of baptism. Okay. This is an example. Like this is what this looks like before we're supposed to even interact with, we say, the government. So this is our born name. You know, you were born. So that part is the baptism that we were missing. So this document right here would go into our record with our name on it. So that means my mom would have had this name, have had this already for me, or my father, whoever it is, certifies that my given name that my mom and my dad gave me was baptized in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit on the blank day. Right? And where's the church? Where, you know, the church can be the body of Christ and the body of your family, of your community. That's your church. And if you really need a building, you just find your local community church. And I don't know if this is a part where it says pastor. Yeah, so you have a pastor or someone who is of that certification of the court, because a pastor is has a certification in the court to sign this document for you. So that will get you to this part right here, where you can have this pastor work with you for your name. So church used to be a lot more powerful for us back in the day, until the church, I guess, merged with the state, because they said it used to be a separation of church and state, if you all remember history. But this is an important document as we go over right now, as your certificate of baptism. Any thoughts or questions on this first thing for your born name? So this is your beginning right here. You know, it's the beginning. This is before we get into the corporate name. So I haven't got to the second part, bullet point, which is corporate name. Feel free if you have any thoughts. You all want to expound on this certificate of baptism that you can create, and you will want to create for your household, everyone in your household. Now, I can give you all a clue what the church is. The church should be your living revocable trust. So that's why I was going into that will, that living trust will is able to play all parts. So if I had a new name that was in my revocable living trust, let's go, for example, I have a living revocable trust. All right, so I have this living revocable trust, and I need a name, right? So most people will use the same name. What we tell people to do is not use the same name. We want you to create a brand new name, because when you create a brand new name, it's going to look as if it's a new creature, it's a new creation. You're a new person, you're a new, it's not the same, right? So we're already born with that. So you don't want to use the same thing, right? So you want to do something that's going to have you at a higher level. So usually our parents, as you can say, they were supposed to have this living revocable trust in place prior to us being born. I'll say that. Now, in the effect, most of our parents more likely did not have a revocable living trust before we were born. We will then, by the time we turn 18 or at the time that we come of age, we'll get our revocable living trust. And then we will then be born again, right? You will have to be baptized. So that's why you see in the Bible and the scriptures, they're using these terms, but this is a literal physical thing, to be born again. So you have to be born again. If our parents did not have a living trust in place, that's what this means. So a living revocable trust is something prior to one being born. And if you are born already and you have a document, then you're going to get a living revocable trust. And this living revocable trust is going to cause you to be born again. And I'm not using words that are far off. This is exact. So a revocable living trust is a written legal document that determines how your assets will be handled after you die. It allows you to manage your assets during your what? Lifetime, and avoid probate court. Now, we went over a series of calls for like almost over a year. Speaking of what this is, what is probate? Probate is simply court. And they gave you the answer by saying probate court. So you avoid court by having revocable living trust and everything in the name of that trust, or other trusts that you choose to use the revocable trust to manage. So a revocable living trust, also known as a revocable trust, covers assets like what? Real estate. First things first, valuable possessions. I mean, it's all your jewelry, all your nice clothing, your shoes, all your nice things, valuable possessions. That's part of your estate. That they say someone is having an estate sale because they have passed on all of their estate. So that's when they're talking about this. They're saying it, but they're not giving us the clues and the details. So the valuable possessions are part of the estate. Bank accounts. That's right. Anything that's in the bank, that's including the bank account number, the savings account, all the funds that's in there. Bank account. Straightforward, right? That's why you will want to have that bank account in a certain name. Next, you have investments. As you know, that can be your investments that were done through, whether it's a insurance investment, it can be a stock investment, it can be dividends that were already given to you, but it was moved to you as a beneficiary. So that's an investment account. That's what that is. So a living revocable trust will cover that if we placed all those things inside this revocable living trust. Unlike testamentary trusts, which take effect after death, you create this trust right there during your lifetime. So you have to do this. You have to become fiduciary once you do this. So once you do this, you actually are taking over fiduciary powers from people. And they're in shock. They're in utter shock. Because now, if you have this revocable living trust instrument, which is a written document, which is law, and you hand them this, this is what it is. You see, and you cannot give them legal advice. So when we be thinking, oh, how do I know it's going to work? Or what's going to happen next? And what's going to happen next is you cannot give them legal advice, because that's the same stuff they say to you. Say, oh, I can't give you legal advice. That's right. Because it's a written legal document. If you don't know how to read, then you need a lawyer or an attorney to read it for you. So we're not here to test it out and say, oh, does it work or does it not work? Well, it's right here. We see it's obviously, what is a living revocable trust? We have the co-pilot already tell us what it is, AI. So we're no more into trying to prove anything. We already can prove all things, and we're able to give an answer in and out of season. So that's what this revocable living trust does. And this allows you to be baptized, right? This allows you to be rebaptized, to be born again from the sin, which is the SSN. See, they gave us the SSN because that's the sin. Let me show y'all the sin. Let's go and look at the social security number. Told you I was going to go deep with the Bible. Yeah, I think these courts and these schools are using the Bible against you. I've been saying this to people for over 5 to 7 years and saying the same thing. It's not going to change.
So I have a question. So when naming the living trust, do we say something like um uh our mother and father's name in the
No,
family of
no, it's your legacy. You're thinking, see, you got to think of a legacy fund. How would
mhm.
I create a legacy fund for for future generations forever without using my name or anybody that I know's name, so nobody can know who it is, right?
Mhm.
That's the way the name works. It's a foundation.
The foundation. Oh, okay, a foundation.
Yeah, yeah, it's a foundation. But if it's in the same name, like this guy right here, William Logan Matthew, well, you're commingling your revocable living trust with the dead in the dead trust, right? Which is the corporation. This is where I'm going to go right to the next thing on the list is your corporate name. So this is the corporate name right here. Everybody who has this is a corporate name. You can't beat this. So when people say, I'm going to get rid of the social, I'm going to get the recent, you're never going to do it. It's impossible. Your mother got it when you were a baby. So if people listen to these people, you're falling in the trap with them. It's like a black hole. It's over. Like once that social card was issued and that name is stamped on there, it's over. So this is what everybody's trapped in. We're trapped in the corporate body, the corporation, which is the sin. This is the sin. The sin is the SSN. You know, the Romans and the Greeks, they saw the word sin. When they said sin, they were talking about error. They were talking about a mistake. They didn't say it on a religious term that you're sinning. Oh, I'm sinning. What does that mean? Well, sin was utilized as a way of saying you missed the mark. It was actually a way of missing the mark. That's what they would say it is because it was used in archery. So if I was a great archer and I was shooting at my target, I would sin if I missed. So that's what this Social Security is that everybody's all caught up on staying in this thing. But I'm telling you, this is the part where they keep you in in those two what they call those antebellum block things right here. John Smith. So this is the part where we're saying it's a corporate name. The corporate name is whatever is on this card. So every controversy has a remedy, right? So whoever presents the controversy must also present the remedy. That's law. That's law of universe, no matter what. It always looks like there's no way. There's always a way. So how would I get out of this? Somebody would say, well, it's over. I'm done. I can never get out of this. My social, my credit is messed up. I can't rent anything. I don't have credit. I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I don't have a job. We'll be stuck in all those I don't haves in this realm, which is the social security card. So we have to get out of this. Now we get out is what I was saying earlier is you have to go through this revocable living trust, and the revocable living trust is going to activate something else, which that activation is going to activate your unincorporated name. So let me type that in for us, your unincorporated name. See what pops up for us. Oh, wow. I, I love the AI. The AI is just making it so easy for us. Type in the words, unincorporated name. What does it mean? Oh, it does not have a local government. That's what it means. Okay, so I don't have a local government if I'm unincorporated now, and I operate in my unincorporated name. Yes, that's what it means. So it says, what does it mean to be unincorporated? If a town is unincorporated, it means it it does not have a local government. Unincorporated communities exist by tradition. These communities typically do not have elected officials at the town level. So I'm showing how this works in levels. So you want to become unincorporated through your revocable living trust, because then that's going to bring you into the unincorporated. Let me see. Let me type in the word for you all. I know you've been seeing this. That's all I'll be talking about for weeks or months is your sole proprietorship. So this is why I was telling us, like, hey, you cannot activate or use a trust unless you have your sole proprietorship. You have to save your soul. So that's the part of saving your soul, which is saving your soul from this, which is a social security number. So you got to save your soul by getting out of that social security card and getting into the unincorporated sole proprietorship. Now, sole proprietorship is where you see there's only one owner. There is no legal separation between the business and the owner. So it means you can't commingle me with being personal because I am a business and I am the owner. The owner receives all profits. All right, let's go back to trying. The owner receives all profits, but is liable for all debts and losses. That's right. So that means I got to write them off, write all those debts off, write off those expenses, forgive my debts, forgive the expenses. But you see, it receives all profits. That means you have to receive your credit, receive your profit, because you are a profit. We don't like to get into the nonprofits because we know that that's also another trap. You are a prophet. You are a prophet, a prophetess. It would say as a prophetess if you're a woman, right? If you're a man, you're a prophet. So why are you not profiting? You receive your profits. You're the owner of those profits. It's very important you all know these words that they're using, and it does make a lot of sense. Look what the owner does. The owner also pays personal income tax on profits earned from the business. So if you get an income tax, if you have a whole bunch of income left over, they're able to tax you, which you give unto Caesar what's Caesar, and you give unto the Lord or the God, or to God, the Most High, what is God. So that's where this is coming from. So once we in this unincorporated sole proprietorship, it's a business structure where there's only one owner. That means you're the only sole owner of everything that you create. And no one can take it from you because you have it in the sole proprietorship. So going on and on for the soul, because this is the entryway to activation. This is how you activate everything. You know, once you have this sole proprietor and you get the young ones, right? Even the young ones, you can get their sole proprietor right now. It doesn't matter if they're not 18. I have my young ones, they have a sole proprietor. My daughter has a sole proprietor. My son has a sole proprietor. My 17-year-old has a sole proprietor. My wife has a sole proprietor. I have a sole proprietor. If my niece and my nephews and my other family members come to my house, I'm going to encourage them to get their sole proprietor if you want to be in connection with our unincorporation. Because if you're a corporation, I've already went over that, you're here. Okay? If you're a corporation, you're here. You're still stuck in this social because you got to get out of this. This is the world right here. This is the world. This social security card is keeping everybody back. And it's so tempting because it got all that money on that social number. That's why everybody's trying to get our fiduciary account and say, what's the last four digits of your social? They do it so slyly over the phone. Hey, how you doing, man? I'm glad you had a great day. You know, you had some nice shoes on last week. Uh-huh, yeah, uh-huh. What's the last four digits of your social? It's funny, but it's real. You got to understand, this stuff comes so quick. You'll be at an application, you'll be here filling out an application, and they're going to ask you for those last four digits. Sometimes they bold. They'll ask you for the full social. What's your full social security number? Now we're starting to seem invasive, right? Now we're starting to see why you should not even be giving that number out. You should not even be giving that card out either. The only place that we trust that we were supposed to give that card out, because we know that they have to follow the law, is the bank. Like, we don't instruct people to go out and apply for a whole bunch of credit. We tell you to get your credit through your bank. So if you were to create this anyway, let's say I go to this unincorporated association, you still go to the bank with your social card, that is this social card, and you're going to still create a unincorporated sole proprietorship. That's your only way out, is through the bank. Until we have that account open, they're able to do as much as they want. So the sole proprietorship is central and foundation to the activation of the trust. Let me go to another example of how this looks if you were to see this in real time. So let's say I was at Bank of America, because this is where, you know, everyone is saying it's a big bank. So let's go to the big bank. So if I'm at Bank of America, right, and I am basically I'm a sole proprietor. I'm going to look for the sole proprietor bank account. I'm not going to look for just a regular any type of Bank of America account. So I want to make sure I click on sole proprietor bank account. Look, it pops right up. So when I get into the sole proprietor bank account, I have to do the information that they say I need. So they're telling you, which is sometimes people get caught up on this right here, get your EIN, right? But we know that you cannot get out if you stay in the EIN. You have to get out through your social. So that's this part right here. It's very important that you see this. So it says you'll need your business tax ID number. It says business. And what do they say you can use? Of course, they suggest get the EIN and go to the IRS and get that sole proprietor, which is fine. That's a corporation. We're saying the sole proprietor may use either the EIN or the social. And there goes the word right there. It says, or the social security number. So there's nothing stopping you from having a business unincorporated sole proprietorship. You can always use a social. The date the business was established, you're going to have that business license, which is a DBA, the country and the state of your legal formation, which is over in your state, the Secretary of State. The country and state, the primary business would be the Secretary of State document again. And your personal information, such as your social. They want to see that you have at least 25% or more ownership and the controlling manager of the business. So that means that you got to be fiduciary. You see, so they may not open your account if you don't believe you have this power. You got to have confidence that you're going to open up the account and it's going to be a sole prop and you are the one managing the account as such. It's not just having it open. You got to tell them, hey, this is a sole proprietor. This is a business. I don't want you to open up any other type of account. I want to make sure this is an unincorporated sole proprietorship. That's how it looks. So I'm going right off Bank of America. I just want to show you how this looks and what documents they're going to say you need. They tell you the documents right here, not me. I mean, I'm not making it up. It says to use your organizing sole proprietorship business license, like we said earlier, DBA. So that's just a fictitious name. It costs $50. You don't have to get an LLC because an LLC is not a sole proprietorship. It's a simple business license. And they tell you it's a fictitious name certificate. a certificate of the trade name, a certificate of assumed name. There you go. So that's that Minnesota. People say, oh, it didn't work for Minnesota. Yes, it does. You're not thinking that it's going to work because it says it right here. Right? You don't have to have it. You can have whatever you need. It's just the person you talked to at the bank just discouraged you and said that nothing works. And this is what we run into at times. We walk into the bank and then the bank tells you something totally different than what the website says. It's like, what are you talking about? The website says this. So we're trying to make sure we use the information as we show you where it's coming from. And I always recommend people read this blue box. Just follow the instructions. They tell you what to do right here on the blue box. Hey, please fax your documents or scan and email them here. Right? They tell you to fax or scan it. But what do people do? We're going to go into the local bank anyway. You're going to go talk to the front desk person who collects cash and ask them questions about a business account. Right? And they're going to be all confused and perplexed. They're like, okay, yeah, open up this account right here. And then you're like, okay. And then they made you open up the wrong account and you're like, oh, it didn't work because you went in and you didn't follow the instructions. This is what they tell you to read and follow their instructions. So this is part of this whole trust thing too, is that once you become fiduciary, you got to become a master of following instructions and not assuming or thinking or overthinking something. You got to do it exactly and turn it in exactly as these people tell you to turn it in. So this is just one example. This is Bank of America. So I just wanted to show you all how this is how you get out of this. So until you can get out of this social card by having a sole proprietor bank account, they're going to keep you all in a personal representative stage. Just go back for a little bit. I'll go through a quick review of how this all started. So we were born, we had a born name. We were born with the name. Our mother and father gave us that name. And this was you born from God because it says in the beginning, God said, let us create man in our image. So think of your beginning. How were you created in the image? Because your mother and father. So where's your baptism? Where were you baptized? In the name, right? You were supposed to be baptized in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, name of the Holy Spirit, right? That is your connection. That's your connection. So we say the way that this works is through your revocable living trust. It's a living trust will. That's your church. So when they say the church line right here, you want to go ahead and make your church your trust, your living revocable trust. That is your church. At least for now, for your baptism. Any questions or thoughts on this? Because this is your beginning of looking at this from the perspective of how they're using your Bible. The courts and the schools are using the Bible against you. See, and they're looking at it, they're like, well, why didn't they put their baptism on the record? Where is their, are they even saved? Are they saved? Do you see how they think about us? So they look at us as sinners when we go into the courts or we go to the bank or anywhere. It's marked in the system as a sin, an SSN, a SSNer. I don't know why they're saying this the way I'm saying it because I'm the first of its kind to talk of it like this because I discovered it. The SSNer, the sinner. Because this is how you get out, your church. You have to get out through your church. Your church is with God, and that is your living trust. And I'm going to go to that last one. So I wanted to go back and revisit the origin of how you're born. So let's go to the last part and let's go into how you're actually getting out. So the last part is going to be your living trust will name. Your living trust will name. Now, that is a new name that we tell people according to our University Technicians Network. So we go to universitytechnicians.com. And we express that through one of our forums. Just go to our study group forum. And we're gonna go to the part where it says 1041. So I think it was under money. Let's click on money. All right, so we got two ways we can look at this. We got the how to file a 1041. Here we go, how to file a 1041. Okay, no, this is gonna be your, it's gonna be your family trust. We're gonna go through the other trust real quick to see if I can go to the bottom. So that's right. So universitytechnicians.com/Wallace. There we go. So it's very important that you see that your living trust is your new covenant, your new agreement that you have. So I'm going to show you why this works in real time, of why eventually you're going to have to get to the point where you easily can find this information and you can easily share this information. So for instance, I have a site. I just gave a page to myself. We also offer this for people who go to different offices a lot and you feel like you don't have these documents. So we help you to create something called a digital folder. You also have a page and we'll help you create a page, and we'll give you a page also on universitytechnicians.com. So what I did, so that I can make sure that people can see the documents that I have in place, I created my digital folder. So let me go here and let me click. And I wanted to show you how this looks in my living revocable trust. This is a doc. So the living trust will name, as you can see, is A Noble Private Lender. That is the name that I chose for my revocable living trust. So A Noble Private Lender is the name that I'm going to use for my living trust will name. You have to do the same. You create your name that you want to use as your will. What I have right here is I'm the grantor and my wife is a trustee. So she's a trustee and I'm a grantor. I wanted to give the trust over because that's how now they say, you know, organizations go, you give something over. So I gave my trust over to my wife. And she became the first trustee to manage the trust. I was given back over trustee position when she became trustee. She appointed me back to become a trustee. So that's why you see my name under that. And I'm an unpaid trustee. My wife is also an unpaid trustee. So the way we do it, we don't want to get paid as trustees. We want the trustee to spend all the funds. So this is how it looks in the level where I was saying the name. So I'm not going to go into the details. I just want to show you how that works for that first part. Now, if you were to find this information, this is where I would type in my information into the county official records. So this will prove that I'm in the book, so that I am in their books and they can find me in the record. So let's see if I can type that instrument code. I think the book and the page. Let's see if I can find the book and page again. It's right here. So you see it's book 5342, page 1596. So let's type that in. 5342, 1596. Here we go. That's perfect. I love it. So that is showing and proving the living will, or the living trust will. I like to say the living trust will, because the living trust includes a living will. So when I click on that, it should give me all my documents that should be on the record. There we go. And voila. So this right here is taking me out or activating the sole proprietor. So in order for this sole proprietor to even work, I was put in as a trustee. So all the trustees of this revocable living trust instantly become sole proprietors. So you can't even use the revocable living trust unless you automatically become a sole proprietor. Because a sole proprietor is a business. Let's scroll in a little bit so I can show you all and read a little bit of this trust. So if I had to talk to an officer of the court, if I had to talk to a person who's claiming to be fiduciary, administrator, administratrix, all these different things that they're saying they have over me and my name. Well, look, I've given myself over to the trust. I've given me my name. That's why I don't want to use the same name as my revocable trust, because then I'll be confused. You know, how am I going to give my name over to the same name? Right. So I am saying it exactly correct. They're not going to, the lawyer is not going to teach you all how to do this correct on purpose, because they don't want you to have a new name that they can't recognize or they can't find. So no, a lawyer won't help you do this. You can't use a lawyer. So you have to come up with a new name. And this name that I have that was given to me by my mother and father was corporatized. So I already see it's all caps. It's corporation. And they kept me as a corporation my whole life, up until the time that I chose to become living. And as you can see, when I put myself in a book, it's on July 31st, 2019. And that's when my living will became living. And I am in the book of the living now. So this is higher than the proof of life that they'll say you have to have proof of life and all these different things. I don't need proof of life. I have revocable living trust. It doesn't change. I mean, it changes if I choose to change it. Oh, here we go. Irrevocable means you can't change it. Revocable means I can add, I can update, I can change, I can do whatever I need to do in relation to my name or relation to this name of this trust. So right here, I went into section 2. During their lifetime, and unless both become incapacitated, the primary trustee of this living trust shall be Temple Jr. Wallace Lewis. So that goes right into my sole proprietor. So my sole proprietor is the primary trustee. And it has my wife's name, her maiden name, Thomas Jillian Dunn. And if a primary trustee dies or becomes incapacitated, the other primary trustee will continue as the sole primary trustee of this living trust. In the event both primary trustees are either dead or incapacitated, the New Earth Solutions Trust of Tallahassee, Florida will serve as the acting trustee of the living trust. So I made another entity, my successor trustee. So I would just give that entity documentation over to someone who I trust. And if something happens to my whole entire self, they will be able to manage all things through the revocable trust, through that trust. So that's how that looks as trustee. So the trustee is always a sole proprietor. Usually, if it's not a sole proprietor, it could be an entity. Sometimes they can be corporate entities that can play trustee. But let me show you how they play trustee through your trust and how your trust covers you for that. So if you go to the part where it says powers, look, trustee removed. So you have the power to remove people from your trust. So I can remove anybody at any time that's not doing what's supposed to be done according to the law of this trust. So trustee powers goes into how you're going to have other people that can, kind of pop up and be fiduciary for you. But if you don't give them notice, they will continue to do those same things. So right here, trustee powers. The trustee will have the power to appoint one or more individuals or institutions to act as co-trustee where it deemed reasonable and in the best overall interest of this living trust. There you go right there. That'll show an example of how if I chose to have the bank or the bank account set up a certain way, only certain names, that means that the bank will play co-trustee because I programmed the bank to do certain things. So that's why they are a co-trustee. Another example can be a real estate company. I trained the real estate management company to do certain things with my property if I'm incapacitated or, God forbid, I'm dead or incapacitated, right? So that's what that means. They become a co-trustee. Everyone that you bring into your trust, they are a manager. They're a co-manager with you, co-laborer with you. So the trustee may employ and rely on the advice of experts. So that means this is what I do. I rely on the advice of experts. I don't just go and find things online and say, hey, this person is an expert. You know, we test the people, test their spirit, test their mindsets, test and see if they are going to do the right thing. So the trustee may employ and rely on the advice of experts, including but not limited to legal counsel. So I can go and get a legal counsel to help me with certain things, accountants, investment advisors to help in the management of the property where that hiring is deemed reasonable and in the best overall interest of this living trust. So it's already written in the provisions. The provisions are already written where anyone that is that's brought in, they have to do everything in the best overall interest of this living trust. Now I'll scroll down to one last part to show you how all this is covered. So where does it say taxes? Let's go to tax. Oh, so I can move it out of the way. There we go. I'm gonna show you all the part where it says tax. Tax is a very small part, so I don't know why we stay so long on tax. Tax is a very small part of your revocable trust. Let's see here. Here we go, right here. How do I get tax to show? Oh, so let's scroll down. So tax identification. So if I'm identified for taxes, you can see that my trust also settles and provides answers for that as well. So for tax purposes, this revocable living trust will be identified by the employer identification number during the lifetime of the grantor, along with the social security number if necessary to identify grantor. So that means my social is covered and my EIN is covered. You see, the revocable living trust will be identified. So I am 100% identified at all times as a revocable living trust. That's how this is supposed to look. And if the system is not updated to do so, you must make it do so. By making it do so, there are things that you must do where they can't give you the answer, such as the they, the them, the location, which they call the place that they say they can't give you legal advice. And you can't be in a desperation situation where you've given them fiduciary power, and now they're using this fiduciary power according to the trust agreement that you signed. So we got to be careful, you know, with this fiduciary power that we're giving people. Because once we give them that social, even if we have this revocable trust, they're supposed to do it according to the best interest of the trust. And if they're not doing it according to the best interest of the trust, it is your job to stop them. You know, you can't just, they're not just going to automatically stop. The IRS is not just going to pop up and find out about them. You have to report them to the IRS if you want them to know. So it's making this known that this is how this looks in certain respects once you get to the level of trust. And we see that this is the last part that we says living trust will name requires documents, your unincorporated name. Went over that. That'll be your sole proprietor. So the sole proprietorship is an unincorporated entity. The social security card is the corporation. So this will be your corporate name. This is the part that most people are still going to be overcoming. You're going to overcome the social. You have to overcome the name and the number that's placed on this card, because they're keeping us trapped in the all caps, which is the, some people say straw man and all these different terms, but They just see it as a corporation name. You know, they don't say straw man. They don't go into um, all the other terminologies and stuff of that sort. So this is the part right here that we're all diligently daily working on getting out of, if we haven't already done so, such as what I've done and shown. So the way you get out of this is what I just showed is you're going to go ahead and create a bank account as a sole proprietor. And it has to use your what? Social. Don't get the EIN because it's a trick. It's almost like they really, really want you to get it. Here's the link. Go ahead and get that EIN anyway. Don't listen to anybody else. Listen to us. Get the EIN. That's how they make it. That's why. And they got a whole article for you to go get an EIN for the sole proprietor. And this is going to be confusing to some people because you're going to get cognitive dissonance. You're like, well, Brother Wallace said just use the social, but this guy at the bank says I should go get the EIN. I should just get it. Just go ahead and get the EIN. So you're going to run into this. I'm telling you, people are always going to, it's going to be always a fork in the road once you get to the final straw, no matter what. So yeah, there's an article and it is designed for you to get that employer identification number as a sole proprietor, which is on the IRS Gov, and it's very easy to get it that way too. Right. But what we're saying, according to their instructions, not me, you can use a social. You know, you don't have to use that EI. You can just use the social to open up that bank account. No, we want to make sure that this is sticking and hitting as best as possible with how we're going to go at this situation. Next, you have what we said earlier, the revocable living trust is what determines is your written document that's going to activate your way of getting your baptism. So we have to be born again. You know, we were born, but our mothers and our father, they gave us the name, they born us into the name, but they didn't get us the baptism certificate. So we had the birth, it was perfect. Well, not the birth, we were born, and then we were baptized once we were born. But they put us into another form, which you know is a certificate, which I'm not going to go into this week. I'm going to go into next week, and I'll break down how people are still stuck on the other certificate that you're not supposed to use because they created it and they created it for their usage, not yours. So this is what your usage is. It's your certificate of baptism is for you to use. So let's go into the form. I'll just give you a glimpse of it. I'm going to go into the details of how this looks. And that is called a certificate of birth. That is a certificate of birth. And I'm quite sure everybody's familiar with the certificate of birth. We understand there's something called a birth certificate. But we just break it down in the backwards format, the way they write it, because they say certification, certified. So this is a certificate. So the certificate is a certificate of what? Is a trust. That's what I'm going to tell you. So I'll get into the details next week of how you're supposed to claim all the assets, all of the access to the funding that these things have created through the hospital, all this stuff, right? Because it's your name on there, right? And it's in all caps. Some people have the live birth. Some of them say live birth. You know, so now I'm not going to get into the birth this year. I was just telling you about being born. Because a birth is something completely different than what I'm even talking about right now. So this is an example of birth, right? This is birth. You know, a birth certificate. I want to make sure I show you all the difference of what we're speaking on today. See, this is different. See the baby footprints and mama. These people are so wise, they started notarizing them right at the hospital with that little seal, the apostille, with the ambassador. That's what they call it, the ambassador stamp. So they can seal the deal. You know, they don't even got the name. The name of that trust is Our Baby. And they're born to loving parents. See? This is why you got to be careful with this documentation that we think is the money. Like the money is, they have the money, whoever has created this document. But if we went ahead and did this part, which is create our own baptism of being baptized in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, where's that document? We can't even prove we're saved. So this is very important. I just want to make sure we see the differences of how all this knowledge information is out here and how they're pushing you all around in this social realm. So all they want to keep you in the social security number. It doesn't matter if you put all the dashes and the syntax and your name is in uppercase, lowercase, or some people, they go into all this information, name change, and change your name at the courthouse and all this stuff, right? Or you kill the social or you kill your name. Like, what are you talking about? This has been dead the whole time. It's a corpse. It's a corporation. You know, it's just they're just running you around in circles because they don't even know. Look at this guy right here. He's like, man, I can't get out of this thing. They gave me two of them. I got two socials. It's serious. Then we get into the ID, which I'm not going to go into that either. The ID and the birth certificate will be synonymous. So I just wanted to keep that open for you all to see the layers of how this whole thing works. So once again, I thank you, and I leave this last part session for Q&A session so you all can speak and talk freely for ask any questions on what our presentation was spoke of about. The summary, if you click on start summary, they will give you a fullness of what we spoke on today, and you will be able to have a transcript of what was said word for word. So there is not necessarily always needed for videos. You're able to look at the transcript. That's why we have the AI that's recording it. And if you click start summary, it'll tell you the summary of what you need and what we spoke on today. So open up the mic if anybody has the floor, and I'll give you all the floor to speak on anything. We have JM, Kene, Dr. Monica, and 100 Eyes. Feel free. All right, so there's no questions or thoughts or comments. So I'll just close us out with a review of the University Technician System. So this will be the last part that we'll speak on for the day, and we'll close out. So University Technicians, what we offer to people is pretty much financial literacy or financial technology. So we help you learn how to master yourself through this technological world. A lot of this stuff is digital, so we teach you how to learn how to be digital. What we do not accept, as you can read through this, because some people still, I guess they look at it from perspective of money. But we tell you that the money is post office money works. We don't use cash. So University Technicians Private Trust Organization operates as a non-taxable, non-accredited educational organization. The mission and goal of University Technicians is financial literacy of services and distribution to all beneficiaries. Please be advised that University Technicians Digital Business Network primarily accepts payments in U.S. postal money orders, gift cards, barter and exchange, and gifts. So that's what it says. That means that's how we accept payments. And this is what you have to eventually do too for your foundation. So learn how to accept payments exactly the way that you want to accept your payments. No Federal Reserve notes accepted as primary payments via Federal Reserve banks to University Technicians Digital Business Network. And I'm coming straight from Title 31, United States Code, subsection 5118. So if you choose to read that, you will see why no one should really be accepting Federal Reserve notes as primary payment, because Federal Reserve notes are promissory notes. And we deciphered that through our videos. So we want to show you a view of how you can look at that through our audio visual section. So through our audio visual, you'll see a video that talks about post office money orders. And if you all wanted to get a live walkthrough or read through or broker trust, that is available for those who have already started your trust walkthrough and you need extra study material. Right here, we have a free video that talks about convert your soul from fiat into real money. And I don't think there's anybody who makes a video like, so we don't put this on YouTube because we don't want YouTube to have this information. We're going to keep this here on universitytechnicians.com. And if you all want to watch certain videos, you can visit our website and watch these videos as many times as you need. But this Federal Reserve note is showing you why it's a note, it's not money. And then we're going to show you how the money actually is a post office money order. So when you pay your bills, even if you don't have a bank, if you use a post office money order, this will basically convert your bill into actual securities. So that's this right here. Another part that people get confused on is how to log in. So whenever you come here, it says start here, just click here and log in and look at all your information. It should easily be showing. Try not to use multiple emails. Use the same email. Make sure you use the same information. They do allow you to use Google, so you can't really confuse this. If you just log in with Google, you just click this right here, and it allows you to log in with Google. So we're just trying to make sure it's very simple for people to use, just like how everybody uses social media. It's just as fast and easy to use this as well. If anything, we made it even easier than social media. So if you need to chat with us, you can talk here, or just click on that green thing and it talks to anybody in real time without calling us. You know, you can chat. We actually speak faster to you through chat than we do by texting us or talking on the phone. So it's easier to get a lot of this stuff done if I'm chatting, or one of our technicians can say, hey, Wallace, you got somebody chatting, and then I can jump on. If you wanted to get into our warranties, you can look into our warranties. We got our business. If you want to create your business, we have a walkthrough right here to create your business. And you don't need anybody to talk to. You can do this by yourself, a DIY. Payment plans right here, and so on. So this is the menu that everyone needs to use. But last but not least, and we got about 3 minutes left, I'll go into the money. How everybody who has created a University Technicians member account, and it shows that you are an active member. This blue wallet right here should show where you're going to receive funding. You should receive cash coins so that we can send cash to you that you convert from coins. So whatever coins you have is how much cash you have. However much coins you have is how much cash you have. So if you don't have an account, you want to go ahead and click on that wallet. Every time you pay us, it gives you this funding. Sometimes it converts it based upon your email that you've paid for services already. So this is very important for you all to get to this point, because we are updating to a actual, what they call a credit union. So our credit union will run differently. We'll be a service credit union. So we'll offer the same services, but we'll also help you with funding and money and, you know, lending funds to your account. That is the goal. We ultimately have to get to that point and say, what is our hidden objective, and what is our long-term goal is to basically become a credit union. So University Technicians will operate our own credit union. We do all of our IT work, so we are not going to be able to sub out information to other technicians or other people because of hacking. There are a lot of hackers, and you can possibly be hacked already if you don't know what people are doing with your information. So be very careful with your information being held on cloud. We want you to put all your information into a secure location. Other than that, I think that concludes our main theme for the blue wallet. We talked about that. You want to make sure you become a lifelong saver and you get that information into the system to get your coins. The other part we talked about earlier was the way you can chat with us 24/7. You simply click on the green buttons, chat, talk here, and we can talk to you anytime. So I hope this helped everybody that's came in this week, and we'll be able to continue to keep updating as we go. And thank you all for everything. If you don't have any last thoughts, I'm going to just close us out from here. And you all have a wonderful rest of your day and the rest of your week. And we get started off this week as a very good way of getting our business together.